I've been a nurse for almost 10 years, mostly working during the day. But a few weeks ago, I picked up night shifts to pay off some student loans. I thought I was ready for it, but that first night on the pediatrics floor changed everything. At first, it was quiet. I checked on my patients, did some paperwork. The lights flickered slightly, and I heard machines humming. The atmosphere felt heavy but familiar. Then, on my second shift, I heard it. Laughter. Light and airy, like children playing. But no kids were supposed to be there. It sent chills down my spine. I looked around, hoping it was just my imagination, but I felt uneasy. As the nights went by, the laughter returned. It became more regular and loud. I started to dread walking to the pediatric ward. I thought I saw shadows darting around corners. Each time I turned, I saw nothing. I figured I was just tired. Sleep deprivation can mess with your mind. But then I noticed something off. One night, while reviewing patient logs, I realized some kids' names were logged who shouldn't have been there. It was strange. I knew all the patients in the ward. My heart raced as I gathered my courage. I had to go back and figure this out. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me. I focused on my work, but it felt like I was being watched. I turned around, but the hallway was empty. That last night was the worst. The laughter rang out again, clearer this time. I walked toward the sound, my heart pounding. I reached the door to the pediatric ward, my hand shaking on the handle. Something moved in my peripheral vision. I looked to the left, but saw nothing. I opened the door and peered inside. The darkness felt heavy. Shadows danced across the room. Then I heard it again, closer. "Why are you here?" It whispered right in my ear. I spun around, ready to confront whatever was behind me. But there was nobody, just me in that empty hallway. I wanted to run, but my legs felt frozen. Suddenly, the laughter returned, echoing in my mind. I didn't understand. What was going on? I hesitated, wanting to scream. My throat felt tight. It was like those children were still there, trapped in this world. I couldn't shake the feeling. I spent the rest of that night terrified. I finished my shift on autopilot, checking on patients without really seeing them. The laughter haunted my thoughts. I could still hear it when I got home. Now, a few weeks later, I try to forget, but it lingers. I see shadows in my peripheral vision and hear giggles in the silence. I wonder if those children ever really left. Did they want me to know? What if they're still wandering those halls, waiting for someone to notice? I returned to the hospital, steeling myself for another night shift. My hands shook as I walked through the entrance. It felt different tonight, thicker somehow. The air buzzed with an energy I couldn't explain, almost like static. I took a deep breath, reminding myself why I was there. The pediatrics floor beckoned like an unwelcome ghost. I walked to the nursing station, putting on a brave face. The familiar sound of beeping machines and fluorescent lights buzzed above me, but that laughter loomed in the back of my mind. I reviewed the patient list again, hoping to find something, anything, that would explain the unfamiliar names. Each one seemed to mock me, emerging from an era long gone. I noted the dates, desperately searching for a clue. My eyes drifted toward the corner of the logbook where they were inscribed. All the names were dated and filed ages ago, except for a new entry. Amelia Hart, room 305. I hadn't seen her name before. Curiosity tugged at me. I glanced at the clock. It was time to check on my patients. As I made my way toward room 305, I felt a heaviness in my chest. Something wasn't right. The laughter, that chilling echo, danced through my mind again. I stopped outside the door. Something in the air felt charged, like the moments before a storm. I took another deep breath and knocked. "Amelia?" My voice felt thin. Silence answered. I pressed the handle down slowly and pushed the door open. The room was dim, lit only by the moon peeking through the curtains. empty. The bed was made, pillows fluffed, and toys lined up neatly on the shelf. Panic surged inside me. I stepped further inside, glancing back at the hallway. It felt like the walls were breathing. I turned toward the window. Outside, I saw shadows flickering in the trees. They danced, but seemed tied to something below. I was about to leave when I noticed something on the floor. A small, pink teddy bear. Its button eyes reflected the faint light. How had I missed it before? I knelt down, the bear pulling me closer like a siren's call. A whisper echoed in my mind, low and haunting. Find us. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered, momentarily plunging me into darkness. I felt the urge to scream, but nothing came out. When the lights returned, I saw it. A figure stood in the corner, shrouded in shadow. I couldn't make out features, but the shape felt familiar, almost like a child. "What do you want?" I stammered, my voice trembling. The figure pointed toward the door leading to the hallway, then vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Heart racing, I bolted from the room, the teddy bear clutched in my hand. My pulse thundered in my ears as I ran. But just before I reached the nursing station, I felt a chill sweep over me. The laughter erupted again, filling the air and wrapping around me like a shroud. "Find us," it echoed. I stumbled, feeling the weight of what I was holding. The teddy bear seemed alive in my hands. That's when I realized the laughter was coming from the hallway, drawing me back to where it all began. My asthma flared, and I fought for air as I stepped toward the darkness, uncertain of what waited for me. I turned back, glancing at the nursing station. The night had changed. Something wanted to be found, and I was just beginning to understand what that meant. I stepped back into the hallway, the dim light flickering overhead like a warning. The sound of laughter faded, replaced by a soft whisper that seemed to come from the walls themselves. "Find us," it beckoned again. I could feel fear knotting in my stomach, but I forced myself to move forward. The teddy bear felt heavy in my grasp, a reminder of what I had seen. As I approached the nurse's desk, I scanned the area for anyone else. The night shift usually meant a small team, but tonight it was eerily quiet. I glanced at the other rooms, the doorways dark and uninviting. The weight of the bear seemed to pulse against my chest. I knew I had to know more about Amelia Hart. I flipped through the patient log again. I found the name and noticed a small emblem next to it, an odd star symbol that felt foreign yet familiar. It was dated months prior, but the entry next to it, written in a shaky hand, stopped me cold. Amelia, room 305, missing, last seen at 9 p.m. How could she have gone missing? I whispered to myself. I felt a gust of air brush past me, as if whispering secrets to the night. I grabbed the logbook and rushed toward the end of the hallway where room 305 stood. The shadows seemed to writhe around the edges of my vision, taunting me as I moved closer. When I reached the door again, the chill returned, creeping beneath my skin. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open once more, guided by some instinct. The room was unchanged, but the teddy bear felt electric in my hands, sending a shiver up my spine. "Amelia?" I called out, but only silence replied. As I stepped further inside, I began to feel a pulse, a rhythmic thumping resonating from beneath the bed. My heart raced. I crouched down, peering under the bed, and saw nothing. Just dust and nothingness. And then I heard it. A faint giggle echoed from the far corner of the room, a sound that sent prickles down my arms. My pulse quickened. I turned slowly toward the corner, bracing myself for another apparition. "Please," I whispered, stepping forward. "Amelia?"
The corner of the room darkened, swirling as if an unseen force gathered together. I could feel cold air brushing against my face, and that laughter broke through once more, followed by a whisper, "We're here." The tension in the room shifted, thickening like a mist. That's when I
saw it, a small hand reaching out from the darkness, beckoning me closer. "Help us," said a small voice, echoing from the shadows. Time stopped. The weight of those words crushed around me. I was on the verge of understanding something monumental, but dread unfurled in my mind like a dark flower. I could already tell this was no simple request. In a panic, I backed away, dread pooling in my stomach. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I felt the pull of the teddy bear. It was like a string tethering me to whatever awaited in the darkness. Then, without warning, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness. In that moment, I realized I was not just a bystander. I was part of this unsettling tale. And as the shadows swirled, I knew I had to find out who or what was lurking in the corners of this haunted hospital. The laughter crescendoed, a cacophony of voices, and I prepared to face whatever was waiting for me. It was time to confront the truth. I hesitated in the darkness, hands trembling around the teddy bear. It felt like a lifeline, yet also a weight anchoring me to this haunting moment. My senses screamed that I had to leave, but the flickering laughter drew me in like a moth to a flame. I took a cautious step forward, the floor creaking beneath my weight. "Who are you?" I called into the dark. My voice sounded small, swallowed by the silence. Then I remembered the small hand reaching out. It wasn't alone. "Show yourself," I shouted, surprised by the authority in my voice. The shadows responded with a rush of cold air that curled around my legs. For a heartbeat, I imagined running, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Suddenly, the light flicked back on, bathing the room in a harsh glow. My breath hitched. The corner where the hand had emerged was empty, but the air remained heavy with an unmistakable presence. I scanned the room, searching for any sign of life, but found only the hospital's sterile walls and the faint sound of buzzing fluorescent lights. Then I spotted something out of place on the wall, an old drawing stuck with yellowed tape. I approached it, heart pounding. The drawing depicted a series of children, their faces drawn with such joy, a stark contrast to the ghostly whispers in the air. In the center, a girl stood with twinkling eyes, resembling the teddy bear I held tightly. "Who are you?" I asked again, this time to the drawing. My fingers traced the edges of the paper, feeling the strange energy emanating from it. But before I could focus, I felt it again, an unmistakable pressure pushing me to look away. The lights flickered once more, and the laughter returned. But this time, it was interspersed with sobs. My skin crawled. I knew I had to get out of the room, but my legs felt heavy, weighed down by fear and curiosity. Then I noticed something else glinting, a small metal object near the bedside table. I leaned over to pick it up, squinting in the light. It was a key, old and tarnished, resting beside a worn-out diary. I opened the diary, flipping through pages filled with childlike scrawls that spoke of games and dreams, but slowly faded into scribbles of fear and confusion. One entry caught my attention. "The star keeps them safe, but I'm scared." My pulse raced. I recalled the star symbol from the patient log. What did it mean? "Help us," the small voice echoed again, a high-pitched urgency now layered with desperation. It was coming from somewhere in the room. I turned, eyes wide as I searched the corners again. The shadows began to swirl more intensely, and a figure emerged, the girl from the drawing. Her face, once bright, now stretched into a frozen mask of sorrow. "I need your help," she whispered, her voice a haunting melody. In that moment, everything changed. The urgency in her eyes held me captive. I felt a bond, a pull, a desperate need to understand. I could no longer pretend I didn't belong here. "Tell me what to do," I demanded, even as my heart pounded in my ears. As the shadows twisted around her, she pointed toward the back of the room, and I sensed the shift in the air. "The door," she murmured. I turned slowly, and there it was, a door I hadn't noticed before, hidden behind a curtain of darkness. With the teddy bear clutched to my chest and the key in my hand, I swallowed hard. Each step towards the door felt monumental. What lay beyond, I feared, would unravel everything I thought I knew. And as I reached for the handle, a chilling realization washed over me. Stepping through that door could lead to the truth or my end. I twisted the key in the lock, my heart racing. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit staircase that spiraled down into darkness. I hesitated, glancing back at the figure of the girl. She was watching me intently, eyes wide, as if urging me to take the leap. I took a deep breath and stepped through the threshold. The air grew colder, sending shivers down my spine as if ice ran through my veins. With each step down, the laughter and cries seemed to grow fainter, but remained ever present, echoing off the walls. The staircase led to a narrow hallway lined with more doors. I could see the rusted handles and faded signs, but the names were worn away. My grip on the teddy bear tightened, a measure of comfort against the unknown. In the soft glow of a lone bulb, I noticed a door ajar at the end of the hall. My curiosity pulled me toward it. I approached cautiously, the sound of my footsteps lost in the hush of the air. Pushing the door open, I stepped inside. The room was small, cluttered with blankets and toys that looked decades old. It felt like a makeshift playroom, but a chill ran through me. Something was off. There was a small table in the center, its top strewn with crayon drawings like the one back in the other room, but these were different. I picked one up, gasping. The drawing showed the girl again, but this time she was surrounded by shadowy figures. Their eyes were hollow, and the girl's smile looked forced. A sense of dread washed over me. "Why are you showing me this?" I whispered, glancing around as if the shadows themselves could answer, but silence enveloped me. "Finish it," the voice echoed in my mind. It was the girl, more urgent this time. "You need to understand." "What do you mean?" I called, frustration bubbling. My hands shook as I clutched the drawing tighter. Just then, I noticed a small box beside the table. It was intricately carved, but coated in dust. I felt drawn to it. Kneeling down, I brushed off the dust and opened it slowly. Inside, I found a collection of small star-shaped charms, identical to the one I'd seen in the diary. My heart raced as I felt a pull toward them. Forcing myself to concentrate, I lifted one, and everything shifted. The room warped around me, the walls bending. Shadows converged, and the laughter surged, now mixed with chaotic screaming. "No!" I shouted, dropping the charm. It clattered on the floor, and the room exploded with light. When the brightness faded, I gasped. I wasn't in the room anymore. I was back at the top of the staircase, panting heavily. The door behind me slammed shut. The girl's figure was gone. The shadows felt alive and angry, closing in around me. Something was wrong. I needed to go back, retrace my steps. But at that moment, all I could hear were whispers, the voices clamoring for attention. They weren't just cries anymore. They felt like a warning. That's when I saw it. A shadowy hand extending through the darkness. It reached toward me. My heart raced in terror. "Turn back," it seemed to say. I stumbled backward, glancing around, panic clawing at my throat. Whatever was waiting for me in this place was not done, and I knew I was running out of time. I turned and bolted down the hallway, my breath coming in quick, heavy gasps. Shadows flickered at the edges of my vision, but I didn't dare look back.
The door at the end of the hall loomed like a lifeline. I reached it and yanked it open, spilling into the next room. This one was larger, a stark contrast to the cramped space I'd just escaped. It looked like an old nursery with faded wallpaper and a single window covered by heavy drapes. My heart sank as I took in the cribs in the corner, some upturned and dusty, others just empty. "Where are you?" I whispered, still expecting
The girl to appear. But silence hung heavily around me, thick as fog. As I moved through the room, something caught my eye in the far corner. A small box, its surface scratched and worn. Cautiously, I approached and knelt down to inspect it. Inside lay a series of photographs, yellowed with age, all showing the girl in various poses. In each picture, she wore that same forced smile, but the background changed. In one, she was playing with a group of children. In another, her eyes were wide with fear, staring into a darkness that encroached upon her. I flipped through the stacks, breath hitching as dread settled in my stomach. "Where were you?" I murmured. "What happened here?" My skin prickled as a low laugh echoed around me. It was filled with malice. I jumped, instinctively clutching the teddy bear. This wasn't just a place of memories. It was a trap. I was intruding on something I didn't understand. Suddenly, the door began to creak open behind me. I froze, adrenaline coursing through me. I didn't want to see who or what was entering. I needed to find a way out. Just as I decided to leave, a figure appeared in the doorway. A dark silhouette filled the entry, blocking out any remaining light from the hallway. I squinted to make out features, but they were indistinguishable. "Help me," a whisper came from the figure. I nearly screamed, my heart pounding erratically. I didn't trust it. "What do you want?" I asked, taking a step back. "Don't leave," it croaked. "You need to see." Panic surged through me. I darted toward the window, but found it locked tight, the latch rusted and immovable. My heart sank. I was trapped. The figure advanced, and shadows wrapped around it, twisting like smoke. I could see hollow eyes now, mirroring the darkness of the girl's drawings. The last remnants of light flickered as terror filled the room. I remembered the charms in the box. I quickly dove back to where I found the photographs. I fumbled, finally locating one of the charms, and clutched it in my palm. The chilling laughter surrounded me again, louder this time, worming its way into my thoughts. "Show us!" they chanted in unison. The shadows pressed closer, their energy palpable. With a deep breath, I reached out to the darkness, holding the charm tightly. I wanted to, needed to know the truth. Just then, a slice of bright light pierced through the shadows. "Please," I whispered, hoping against hope. And then, everything shifted again. The shadows shrieked as they were pulled back, the room distorted, colors swirling, and for a terrifying moment, I was suspended in darkness. When the chaos settled, I stood in a different room altogether. Cold metal surfaces surrounded me, and fluorescent lights hummed above. This couldn't be right. I staggered back, realizing I was in a hospital. Someone lay on a gurney nearby, unconscious. But their face, it was the girl's. I froze, fear crashing over me. I had to find out what happened next, but how? The shadows whispered in my ear as the hospital lights flickered ominously. I squinted against the harsh lights, my heart racing. The girl's face was so pale, her chest barely rising and falling. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs felt like they were glued to the floor. Why was she here? As I edged closer, I noticed a doctor rushing down the hall. His face was grim, and he didn't even glance my way. "Code blue in room 302, he shouted. Panic clawed at my throat. I had to know if it was about her. I stepped to the side, trying to skirt around the gurney, when I saw another figure next to her. It was a woman dressed in a hospital gown. She looked just as frightened as I felt. I could see her lips moving, but no sound came out. I leaned in closer to hear, but the hospital buzz drowned her whispers. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, casting long shadows that danced along the walls. The gurney trembled slightly, and I jumped back as if it had a life of its own.
The whispers grew louder, echoing in the sterile environment. "Help her," they pleaded. "Help us." "Who are you?" I managed to ask, though my voice sounded tiny against the surrounding chaos. The woman turned her head slightly, her eyes locking onto mine. "You shouldn't be here," she rasped, then went still, as though the weight of her warning had crushed her spirit. My instincts screamed at me to flee. The shadows seemed to swell, mingling with the urgency of the code blue. I could feel their presence close, pressing in on me. I glanced back at the girl, her eyes slowly fluttering open. For a second, I thought I saw recognition in her gaze, a spark of something deep and ancient. Then, without warning, her body jerked, back arching, as if an unseen force had taken hold. I gasped, pushing against the gurney, desperate to get away before the shadows fully revealed themselves. And then I heard it. A low, raspy laugh echoed softly, slithering through the air like smoke. "You're part of this now," it hissed, curling around my thoughts. "You can't escape the truth." I stumbled back, my heart pounding against its cage. I looked to the door, but it was gone, replaced by a wall that loomed ominously. I was trapped in this surreal nightmare, and the girl lay there, tormented. Out of desperation, I reached out toward her, hoping to pull her from whatever darkness had ensnared her. "I want to help you," I cried, feeling helpless. Then, just as suddenly, a flood of blinding light enveloped the room, pushing against the shadows. I felt myself being pulled, my feet lifting off the ground. The laughter faded, replaced by an urgent whisper. "Find the truth, or you'll be lost." In an instant, I found myself in a different space. I was once again in the nursery, the familiar sight of the cribs surrounding me. But something was wrong. I realized I was holding a small piece of paper, crumpled in my fist. I slowly opened it, my hands trembling. The words were scrawled in a shaky handwriting. "The mirror shows what you hide." I could feel dread pooling in my stomach. What mirror? What was hidden? Just then, the shadows began to swell around me again, as if seeking to reclaim their hold. My breath quickened. I needed to know what the mirror revealed. But could I survive the truth? I stared at the crumpled paper, my mind racing. "The mirror shows what you hide." I had no idea what it meant, but the way the shadows swirled around me made it clear I needed answers. This place felt wrong, like stepping into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. As I turned, searching for a mirror, a strange flickering light caught my eye. It was coming from the far corner of the nursery. I moved cautiously toward it, every instinct telling me to turn back. But something pulled me forward, curiosity mingling with dread. The light flickered again, revealing a small, oval mirror hanging on the wall. It was old and dusty, the surface warped. I took a deep breath, my heart racing. What was hidden? Was the mirror my answer, or was it another trap? I stepped closer, peering into the glass. My reflection stared back, but then something shifted. The image began to morph, showing not just me, but flashes of the hospital hallway, the gurney, and the girl. My breath caught in my throat. It felt as if the mirror was revealing the very essence of the place, peeling back the layers of truth and deception. Suddenly, I saw the girl again. This time she was not pale and fragile, she was running. Dark figures chased her down the hall, their movements jerky and unnatural. I felt cold fear wash over me. I wanted to shout a warning, but my voice wouldn't come. All I could do was watch as she darted around a corner, the shadows creeping ever closer. Then the mirror blurred, the edges fracturing into a haze. "You need to stop running," a voice whispered, low and menacing. It didn't come from the mirror, it echoed in my mind, sending chills down my spine. I glanced around, half expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows. I forced myself to look back at the mirror. "What truth?" I whispered, desperate for answers. But instead of a reply, the glass showed only my trembling reflection. I could feel panic rising, threatening to consume me. Just then, I heard faint footsteps echoing from the hallway outside. My heart raced. I knew I wasn't alone. I had to go, but everything in me screamed to stay, to uncover whatever dark secrets the mirror held. Before I could make
a decision, the door burst open. A nurse rushed in, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. "You shouldn't be here," she yelled, grabbing my arm. "Get out, now!" I hesitated, torn between the urgency of her warning and the pull of the mirror. But then I heard it, a soft whisper from the glass, more insistent now. "You need to see." The nurse pulled me away, but I couldn't look away from the mirror. The girl's terrified face flashed across its surface one last time, and in that moment something shifted within me. I realized I was not just a witness. I was a part of this, whatever this was. "Come with me," the nurse urged, her grip tightening. "It's not safe here." Against my better judgment, I followed her, glancing back at the mirror one last time. I was leaving something behind, but the truth was closer than ever. The answer was out there, lurking in the shadows, and I was terrified of what would happen if I didn't find it. The nurse dragged me out into the dim hallway, her grip strong as we hurried away from the nursery. My heart pounded in my chest, muscles tensing with each echoing footstep. What did she mean by, "It's not safe here"? I had to know, but I couldn't find the words to ask. We passed under flickering fluorescent lights, casting strange shadows along the walls. I stole glances over my shoulder, half expecting the dark figures from the mirror to manifest there. The urgency in the nurse's eyes only heightened my anxiety. "Please," she finally breathed, stopping abruptly. Her expression was a mix of fear and desperation. "You have to believe me. You need to stay away from the restricted areas, especially the old wing." "Why?" I asked, my voice trembling. The need for answers clawed at me. She hesitated, glancing nervously down the hall. "There's something not right in there. Too many patients have gone missing, and the staff won't talk about it. They say it's just rumors, but I know what I've seen." "What have you seen?" My curiosity broke through my fear. Her eyes darted around, ensuring no one was listening. "I've heard whispers. At night, I hear things coming from that wing. No one wants to investigate, but I swear, it's like the walls are alive. They're hiding something." Her face paled further as she spoke. Before I could respond, the lights flickered more violently, plunging us into near darkness for a brief moment. A familiar chill ran through me, one I had felt in the nursery. Something stirred in the shadows. "I need to get to the front desk," she said, suddenly anxious again. "You should stay here." "I'm not staying back. I need to know what's happening to that girl," I insisted, frustration boiling over. I didn't care if I was being reckless. I had to find out. "Listen," she hissed, glancing over her shoulder again. "If you're going to follow Me, then don't make a sound. We can't attract attention, not from whatever is out there." The air suddenly felt heavy, suffocating. I nodded, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Together, we moved cautiously through the hall, the silence stretched between us. But the tension shattered when a loud crash erupted from the direction of the old wing. My heart skipped a beat. "What was that?" I whispered, a part of me already dreading the answer. The nurse's face blanched. "That's it. We have to go now." Before she could pull me away, a flash of movement caught my eye. From around the corner emerged a shadow, fleeting yet unmistakable. It looked like the girl from the mirror, her features distorted. She was running again. Without thinking, I dashed toward the sound, the nurse's protests fading behind me. I felt all logic slip away. I had to know. "Stop!" the nurse shouted after me, but I couldn't. Every instinct buzzed with urgency. I turned the corner and found myself staring down a long, darkened hallway that led to the old wing. That's when I saw it. a flicker of pale light illuminating the end of the corridor. It pulsated like a heartbeat, beckoning me to come closer. Fear gripped me, but the need for answers burned brighter. I stepped forward, pulled by an unseen force, leaving everything else behind, including the nurse's voice fading into the dark. The answer lay ahead, and I was ready to confront whatever waited in the shadows. I moved deeper into the old wing, my heart racing as the flickering light continued to pulse ahead of me. Shadows clung to the corners, shifting like restless spirits. I felt exposed, a frail figure in a world that had forgotten warmth. As I progressed, the laughter echoed once more, its high-pitched notes dancing in the air like a cruel taunt. My pulse quickened as I navigated the eerie silence, the sounds merging into a haunting symphony. The walls closed in, eerily whispering secrets only the darkness knew. At the end of the corridor, I found myself in a small room, pictorially similar to the nursery. The light emanated from an old lamp, its shade cracked and dusty. There was something familiar about this place, a lingering connection to all that had brought me here. The air felt dense, charged with anticipation. Seated at the center was a single round table, cluttered with toys. Same colors, same faces from my fleeting glimpses in the previous rooms. And there it was again, the girl. She sat at the edge of the table, her gaze fixed on me with a mixture of urgency and fear, her frail form shimmering in the washed-out light. "Help us," she murmured, her voice a quivering thread in the thick air. "We've been waiting." "Who are you?" I asked, searching her worn-out eyes for truths hidden deep. The question resonated between us, heavy with unspoken grief. The girl glanced over her shoulder, as if sensing something lurking.
"In the shadows. You need to listen. It's not safe here." Her voice lowered to a whisper. "The stars, they can save us." I thought back to the star amulet and to the entry in the journal. "What do you mean? What does the star have to do with this?" "Our friends." Her eyes sparkled with tears. "They took them. The shadows hide what they don't want you to see." A sinking feeling hit me. I glanced around, trying to understand. "Your friends? Are they here?" "Please." She extended her tiny hand, the gesture an invitation and a plea. "You have to find them before it's too late. The door will close again, and we won't get another chance. We need you to help us through." Before I could respond, the light flickered ominously. The shadows at the edges shifted menacingly, a wave of darkness washing over us. It was the same presence I could feel haunting my every step, lurking just outside view. "Follow me," the girl urged, her small form trembling. "We can break the curse if you find the door." Where is it?" I asked, scanning the room frantically. She pointed towards the far wall, cloaked in darkness. "The mirror shows the truth. Show it the star, and it will reveal what is hidden." The shadows in the corner deepened, and a cold gust sent shivers down my spine. I wasn't sure how much time we had. "What will happen if I don't?" I asked, dread pooling in my gut. "Then they will stay forever." Her voice cracked, desperation seeping into her tone. "Please, hurry." I leapt towards the wall, a determination ignited within me. The mirror shimmered in the bleak light, and I reached for the old star charm clutched tightly in my palm. I held it before the glass, my breath hitching as I stared at my reflection, willing it to respond. The mirror shimmered, the surface swirling and lurching. Images poured through, a funnel of shifting shadows and laughter, layers of pasts and fragmented memories. I saw children, faces stretching in fear, trapped motifs battling against the grip of darkness. Then I saw the girl again, but she was not alone. "Show us!" The frantic whispers pealed from the shadows, now vibrant and urgent. I pressed the star charm into the cold surface of the mirror. With a blinding flash, the world erupted into luminous light, peeling back layers of eluding mystery. The shadows recoiled as the laughter transitioned into cries, revealing the children held captive in a realm of despair. "Make it stop," I begged, feeling the strain of the shadows clawing at me. But amidst the chaos, a calm settled over me. Clarity washed through the vivid distortions. "This ends now," I uttered, finding a newfound strength. I focused on the girl's image, her sorrowful gaze etched in my memory, and my entire being locked onto that moment. "You are not alone," I cried. "I will set you free." The mirror responded, a bright crack rippling across its surface. The laughter morphed, a swell of defiance, invoked by the very light that banished darkness. The children began to break free, their silhouettes emerging as beams of ethereal light, a transition from torment to liberation. But the shadows screamed, thrashing against the edges of the light, furious at the disruption. "No!" they howled. But the light expanded, embracing the children, offering them a way out. "Find us," I whispered, a mantra pushing through my veins, each syllable a step towards freedom. The girl turned from me, locking her gaze one last time, a spark of hope filling the depths of her darkened world. And then it was gone. A wave of warmth flooded over me as the darkness unraveled, the bonds that held them fractured and fell away. A brilliant light enveloped the chamber, tearing through the remaining shadows and flipping the story upside down. As the brilliance faded, I stood gasping in the empty room, alone. The girl was gone, along with the others, yet the tremors of their laughter lingered, similar yet different. I felt the weight of sorrow lifting, leaving an echo of joy in its wake. I ran back down the corridor, heart pounding. The door loomed ahead, my way back to the familiar world, a world that felt changed forever. But I couldn't shake the questions that loomed in my mind. Had I truly set them free? What really lurked in the hospital's past? The shadows seemed to whisper as I passed, their connection fading like the remnants of a dream. I stumbled back onto the pediatrics floor, the night once again cloaked in silence. But deep within me, the echoes of those children remained, holding fast to the memories they shared. I wondered if I could ever escape the ripple of unanswered questions. Even now, I thought I could still hear their laughter echoing through the halls, a fragmented reminder that some secrets linger longer than others. I took a deep breath as I stepped outside, staring at the stars flickering above, wondering if they finally found their peace. I guessed I would never know.